Welcome in, everyone. It's yet another Patreon question show. Questions from my patrons and recorded for everyone on YouTube. I don't like to go any bullshit. I don't like to waste any time on this show. So let's just jump into the first question. So the first question, I thought this was a very good one to start with. When on the clock in a rookie draft, do you always take the highest player available in your ranks or do you focus on team need? I get this question all the time. And I would say that I always take the highest player available in my ranks. You want to accumulate value over time in a dynasty league because you can always make a trade later. You don't want to take bad players or worse players because you need them. And then that puts you behind the eight ball value wise. You never know. You could have injuries, other things could happen. There could be other trades come in, random trades that give you value that shift your position of need to another position. You just don't know. So you want to take the best players. You can make a trade later. But I always just focus on my ranks. I don't make need-based trades or need-based picks. This is the number one thing that I actually tell my patrons to do. The number one thing I have to talk them out of doing is drafting for need. It's the one thing I talk them out of doing the most. So we always take value. We focus on value. You know, Dynasty Outhouse said it first many years ago. And I've kind of always gone with that ever since. It's always led me to success. So we take the highest player available. Here's an example. You own Josh Allen, Daniel Jones, Stafford, and Justin Fields, and you're at 102. Would you take a QB or a position player like JSN? In that case, excuse me, what I would do is try to trade down first. Try to trade down because you're right. I don't need a quarterback. So what I would love to do is to go back to like 105 and get a huge return. Could I get 105 and a 24 first for 102? I would love to do that. You know, that would be great. But if I can't do it, I'm still going to take the quarterback. At this point, for me, it would be CJ Stroud. We're going to have to see. It could be Bryce Young. It could be Anthony Richardson. Those are in flux at 2, 3, and 4 for me in Superflex. But it would be a quarterback, almost for sure. So, for now, that's what I would do. But I would try to trade back first because that's even better. We don't want to make a bad pick, but trading back is a good option. So look into that too. You want to explore all options to improve your dynasty team. All right, the next question. I'm in a standard scoring 1 QB league with 1 flex, a defense. Oh, defense in Dynasty. And kickers. Kickers in Dynasty. Ooh. Or it's keeper, I guess. Keep 2 players with 0 draft capital attached. Okay, so this is a 2-player keeper. Essentially, I would say anything less than 5-player keeper. That's redraft. It's redraft. Treat it like redraft. 5-player keeper or less. Treat it like redraft. I have Kupp, Higgins, Kittle, Najee, and Walker, all pulling me in different directions. I have the 101 and both Bijan and Justin Jefferson will be available. Well, in a redraft, Justin Jefferson obviously would be number 1. Who do I keep and what do I do with the 201? Well, that depends on who's available at the 201. But I think the better question, because we don't know who's going to be available at the 201 in your draft. It's too hard with 2 keepers. I just have no idea. But the main question is, at the 101, you draft Justin Jefferson. That's easy. Easy question. That one is easy. Then the next part is of these players, Kupp, Higgins, Kittle, Najee, and Walker. It's redraft. So who would I take the highest in redraft? Kittle is a no thank you for me. Who is too many question marks. Higgins, he's good, but more of a dynasty play. I don't know. Is he going to be my top 10 wide receivers for redraft? Probably not. I'd rather have Walker over Najee. And then I think Kupp would be in a 2 keepers redraft. So Kupp and Walker look like my choices here. And then I draft Justin Jefferson at the 101. I think that's my my answer to your question. And now that we've gotten a little bit into the show, I just want to, if you enjoy this, make sure to like the video. Leave a comment. Comments really help drive the algorithm. Subscribe to the channel. And also hit that notifications bell because these shows, and I'm going to be doing more of these types of videos, they don't have a specific live time like my regular live shows. So hit that notifications bell so you can be notified about when the content comes out. You know, I really appreciate everyone who does that. It's a good way to see my content. But let's move on to this next one. Do you think the recent trend in 0 hero RB strategy, so 0 RB is don't draft a running back for the first like 5-6 rounds. Hero RB is anchor your team around 1 running back and then, focus on pass on it for 5 or 6 rounds and then move on to it later. Or do you think that strategy is here to stay or will RB reigns dominate again in the future? So the thing is, NFL teams are going more to committees and going away from workhorses, removing the number of running backs that are actually worth an early round selection. So until the NFL changes their strategy, and they're only moving more and more this way, not less and less, I would say that the 0 hero RB strategy is here to stay. NFL teams pass more than they ever did, and they don't give the work to 1 running back like they ever did. So for me, I think that we're moving more and more that way, not less and less. But we'll have to see. But that's my opinion right now, is we're moving more that direction. I'm talking about it even more this year, fading RB even more, not less. Part 2 to the same question. Okay. With the rise of the tight end premium format, will there be a similar correction to RB scoring that will bring their relevance back to life, such as 0.5 points for rushing first down? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, because the problem with the running backs is just that there's too much of a flat, like the difference between like running back 20 and running back 50 is just not that much, because if running back 50 has an injury in front of them, then they have a lot more value. You can take handcuffs. There's no tight end handcuffs. It doesn't work the same way. So no, I'm going to say no. There's not going to be a similar correction, is my answer to that question. Nor would I recommend that there should be. I don't have a problem with the way fantasy football is played now. Like, it's not bothering me. I don't have an issue. I like tight end premium because it gives a few premium assets to the tight end position. It makes those more exciting. But for these 0.5 rushing per first down, I've never noticed that that's really excited me. It's not really been my thing as a format. I don't have an issue with the way we play football now, fantasy football right now. How important is weekly matchup analysis when it comes to offensive and defensive line matchups? Okay, so this is something I do look at. Oftentimes with quarterbacks, a little bit with running backs during the season, not so much with wide receivers. I will say I do weekly start-sit rankings as part of my Patreon. The Patreon is the only place you can get weekly start-sit rankings. Maybe there'll be some sort of start-sit show on this YouTube channel. Maybe. I'm not promising it. I think it's going to be the kind of thing where there might be a start-sit show that's headlined by other creators, and I'm on it sometimes. I think that's more likely. But the start-sit rankings are available on the Patreon, and I do factor this in. So I would say, is it important? Yes. Is it the primary factor? No. The talent and volume is more the primary factors than anything with the offensive and defensive line. I do defense rankings, DST rankings, and obviously there it's very important. That's going to be very important. But that's probably where it's the most important, is actually ranking the DST, because sacks are a large part of the DST scoring. So, that's something, fumbles on the quarterback, sacks, that kind of stuff. So I would say yes, but not. It's not the most critical factor overall. Are there any stats that show that mediocre, bad running back plays are better or equivalent plays against bottom 5 defenses compared to elite or great running back plays against top 5 defenses? No, they're not. Elite running backs with elite volume are the best plays no matter what. That's actually what the stats show. You want elite volume. Volume is king at running back. You want to chase volume first. Volume is king. Volume is what you want. There's nothing else that can make up for volume. So that's king, and that's what you want to chase. Yeah. So the answer to this question is no. Let me, I do want to read a couple of reviews about the last Patreon show. So the first one here from Lionheart, and I do appreciate this and also all your questions. I was sick when I recorded the last Patreon show. My voice was not the chipper voice that it is today. So I just appreciate you wishing me feeling better, and that you're all here for me. And I'm very happy to be back doing the show with a lot more energy than I had last week. And yeah, similar here. I appreciate that people really seem to enjoy these solo shows, and that's why I'm going to keep doing them. As you know, the Ask Tyler Monday show, there's going to be 2 more shows of that. And then that's going to also be changed to this kind of format. I'll take the questions from there on Twitter, like I take Patreon questions for this. It'll essentially be the same exact format, just with questions from Twitter. So that's going to be the future of Ask Tyler on the YouTube channel. It'll be me just doing this show, questions sourced from a different place. And I just appreciate all the positive feedback on the show. That the feedback on the show has basically been universally positive. So I just appreciate everyone for that. I've heard a lot of success stories like this. Team was from the first Dynasty startup, knowing nothing, and now it looks great. Again, I love it. I love it. I love that I'm able to make a difference. Just more positivity and thanks for people still watching, bearing with me last week, even though my voice was definitely not at 100%. But I'm very happy to be back here with an 100% voice. As we move into the next question. So this one I thought was very interesting, because usually people ask me, which rookie pick will you start accepting a random 24 first for? This question is asking about which rookie pick, 23 rookie pick, will you start accepting a random 25 first for? So for me, the future first has upside because if it's like the 101 in this year's class, let's say it's super flex because most people play super flex. In this year's class, I would say there are 6 assets for me in this year's class, super flex: Bijan, Stroud, Young, Richardson, JSN, and Gibbs, that are premium type assets. And once you get below that, then I'm fine looking, at a package for a 24 first. So if I had the 107, maybe I wouldn't take a 24 first straight up. But if you offer me a 24 first and a second, I might take it, for the upside, random 24 first and a second. If I had to go all the way back to 2025, I think I would, I'd be fine just taking Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, Will Levis, Zach Charbonnet right now. So I think the line for me would be a 111 or later. But I think you can get more. I think if you offered the 111 for a 25 first, I think you get something back with the 25 first. It's not a bad move to do it. But just generally in terms of value, I would say the 111, but I don't even think you have to pay that. I think you can bet less, personally. I thought this question was kind of bizarre, but I just thought it was kind of cool. If you could swap any team's offensive coordinators to maximize said team's fantasy productions, who would you swap? Not a helpful, useful question, kind of fun what if. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but I do want to say that I really like Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. And I know that he's done a great job with Jared Goff, but I could just imagine him working with someone like Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow and really bringing one of those offenses to like the next level. So I just might want to see him elsewhere. And I'm kind of sad that Kellen Moore has gone from Dallas. I think Dak Prescott and Dallas might suffer a little bit without him. There's a couple of things about offensive coordinators there. There's a lot of offensive coordinators I'd like to get rid of, but that's kind of a separate question. I mean, Matt Nagy, what is he doing as an offensive coordinator in Kansas City? Nathaniel Hackett, I think, is incompetent. So a couple there that I just want to get off the face of the earth. But I do appreciate this question. I think it's kind of funny. It's always nice to have some lighter tone questions. Okay, so Tyler, when people ask you about trades or who to draft, I notice that you never ask things like, who are your other wide receivers or what other picks do you have? That's true. I rarely ask that because at the end of the day, you want to accumulate value. Occasionally it matters. Usually the time I'll ask is in Superflex about quarterbacks. I get it. You want value. I'm usually not going to recommend that you go down to 0 quarterbacks in a Superflex, even if the value is on your side. That's usually not a good idea. So there are occasionally times where I'll ask about it. He's also talking about what does the deal do to your depth? Do these things matter enough to consider, or is it just about value? They are such secondary factors that they don't tend to matter. I generally want value. Occasionally, if it's very close, I'll factor it in. But if it's not close, then it doesn't matter, is the short answer. But yeah, obviously, like, I get hundreds of questions a day. It's difficult also for me to factor this stuff in, and I'm always trying my best. But unless I'm really torn on the trade, it isn't going to change my mind. If I have a clear pick on one side or the other, the context surrounding what you have on your team is not going to change my mind. So that's really the short answer to this question. But it is a very good question. And I'm glad that you noticed that because it is important to my strategy. My strategy is centered around value. So absolutely. And I'm glad that you noticed that. Okay, let's see. After looking at my wide receiver depth, you recommended looking into selling Davante Adams. That's probably a good idea. I've recommended selling Davante Adams quite a bit. I just think that he's 30. Now we're going to Jimmy G. Is not an upgrade over Derek Carr. That's a downgrade. Jimmy G has not really supported a lot of high-end wide receivers in his time. And the one he did, Deebo Samuel, did it on the ground. So, yeah, I don't know how in on Davante Adams I am. What would you be targeting in return? And when is the ideal time to sell someone of his profile, older player that still has elite production level, pre-NFL draft, post-NFL draft, right before the season, sometime during the season? Okay. So to get the first part of the question out first, right now I have Davante Adams worth around the 110 in a super flex, similar value to someone like Zach Charbonnet in my rookie rankings. I think you can get a little bit more. I see a lot of people down on my ranking of Davante Adams. I would target like 108. Try to get that. I'm fine just taking that. That's kind of my target idea. But then for someone like Davante Adams, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, these players are not vulnerable. Nothing's going to happen to them. There are other players where I'm like, you don't want to wait. But for these players, nothing's going to happen, Tyreek Hill. Nothing's going to happen to them that's bad between now and then, unless some crazy thing happens. But with those type of players, generally, if you wait until August, you can get a better return with the high-end, invulnerable veterans, players like that. However, the same does not apply to someone like Joe Mixon, who now, is so on the verge of being cut. Dalvin Cook could be cut at any time. These players I would like to move now. So it's not a one-size-fits-all model. But if they're really elite, and I'm talking, in terms of older players that are really elite, that list includes Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Travis Kelce, and that, to some degree, Christian McCaffrey. And that might be end of list. End of list of players in that group. Invulnerable. Players that are not going to be damaged by an outside acquisition. You can wait until late August, and then people start to realize they're going to score points, and then you can get more. Other than that, I'm fine just taking what you can get at any time. Other than the elite of the elite. Those other veterans. People say just wait on them. I disagree. There's a lot of negative things that can happen between now and then with those other veterans. I would be happy to sell them at any time. Do you think JSN will have more upside in his rookie year than Olave or Wilson had in their rookie seasons? That is asking a lot. That's asking a lot. I'm going to say no. I'm not going to predict that. I think, if he had the rookie season that they had, we'd be very happy. But I'm going to say no. I'm not going to say that that's going to happen. If I had to say, a range of outcomes, if you give him Drake London's rookie year, would that be like kind of a median outcome? Let's see. Drake London had as a rookie 72 receptions, 866 and 4, 117 targets. You want to call that a median? I would say it's about fair. Projecting that he's going to be good as Olave or Wilson were as rookies. Most wide receivers don't do that. We've been spoiled lately with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. It's not typical. Like Drake London's rookie year is considered to me as a success, not a failure, even for a high first round pick. So I'm going to say no, but he certainly has it in his range of outcomes. But I would say Drake London's rookie year is a good median prediction outcome. I think JSN slightly better prospect than London, perhaps. So, but London slightly outperformed his prospect profile. It's still a good year, especially with bad quarterback play that London had. What do you make of Tyreek Hill's retirement announcement? Is Hill a buy, sell, or hold? So when it came to the older guys, Hill was the one I was the most in on because unlike Kupp and Diggs, Hill showed no sign of decline. Kupp had his injury. Diggs kind of slowed down to the end of the year. Hill had his best year of his career. This retirement announcement says he's going to retire after 2025. He can say it. I don't know if I believe him or don't believe him or what. There's no way to know what he's going to feel in 3 years. I would say it didn't change his value all that much. Maybe it took a tick down. Hill is not a buy for me. People still are a little too in on him. But of the older guys, he's the one I'm the most okay with. I'm the most okay with riding Tyreek Hill into the ground. So he's not a buy. He's either a sell or a hold, depending on what you can get. If you can get a premium return, like if you in a super flex, if you can get a top 4 pick, I would take it and take quarterback, and the young quarterback and just move on from Tyreek Hill. If you can get that, I would take it. But if you can't, then it's probably hold. This is one of my favorite questions and always a sad question for me. What's the best way to leave a dynasty league that isn't as active as you would like? Well, I would say that if you're in a dynasty league that's not as active as you would like, you shouldn't stay. Like if you're not having fun, don't stay. It's not good for the league. It's not good for you. So the best way to leave is just say, I'm not having fun. I'm going to leave this league. No hard feelings, but I'm going to leave. Like you're not obligated to continue playing if you're not having fun. I get it. Dynasty leagues are supposed to be for the long haul, but you shouldn't be forced to stay if you're not enjoying it. So that's my advice is just be respectful. Don't be mean on the way out, but if you're not having fun, you should leave and it's better for you and better for the league. Which rookie for each position is the most overrated and underrated by the market currently? So looking at my ranks, I mean, I think Will Levis is so overrated just because I'm not willing to spend a premium pick on him. I just don't like him. But the market does kind of hate him. Let's see. I think Cedric Tillman is a little underrated. I think once people see the draft capital that Cedric Tillman is going to get, he's going to rise in overall ranking. He's still a little too low in consensus rankings. Rashee Rice, kind of the same thing. I think he's going to get more draft capital than Dynasty rankings kind of imply. So he would be a little bit underrated for me. Overrated, yeah, we mentioned Will Levis. Definitely, I think overrated. Other than that, I'm a little concerned about some of those like past running backs, as in players who were super Devy hyped might not get the draft capital. I'm worried Sean Tucker, Zach Evans, Tank Bigsby might be all three of them a little bit overrated. And then I will also throw out Kendre Miller. I just don't see it, I guess. We'll have to see if the NFL drafts him in the second round and says I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I don't necessarily see him as a high-end prospect. So, I'm a little skeptical there. I'll also throw out at tight end, Sam Laporta is underrated. I really like Sam Laporta. And I think he could even be in the second round in the NFL draft. And also with tight end, you have to remember, like Trey McBride was 55th overall or so last year. Sam Laporta could be 55th overall and the tight end 5. Like, it's not his fault that there are 4 this year just happens to have 4 better tight ends. So he might get a little underrated because of that. Similar draft capital, but 5th off the board compared to Trey McBride, who's, tight end 1, same draft capital last year. Who is this year's Christian Kirk? I love this question because it's giving me credit for something. A lot of people were out on him last year. I drafted a lot of him because you had him much higher in your ranks compared to most. Yeah, I did see an opportunity with Christian Kirk last year because he was the number 1 wide receiver in a Trevor Lawrence-led offense, and I expected Trevor Lawrence to be good in year 2. So this year, I mean, there are a few players that I would say have an opportunity. Hollywood Brown, if he's completely written off. I know that the Cardinals don't have much of a quarterback situation, but Hollywood Brown is not bad. I think he's actually still pretty good. So I wouldn't write him off entirely, to be honest with you. Christian Kirk again. People are just assuming that Calvin Ridley is going to go back to 2020 form and just displace Christian Kirk entirely. So honestly, Christian Kirk again might be underrated, undervalued, and underdrafted. So he's someone on my list. Those are kind of the main 2. Potentially Jameson Williams, just because he has like limitless upside. We'll have to see how he's progressing in camp and all that. That's another player that I would kind of throw out there with some value upside. George Pickens, depending on his ADP, that's going to decide whether I'm in on him or not in redraft. I love the talent, but if the ADP is super high, I'm not going to be in on him. I think that's a good list there. Yeah, pretty happy with that. But Christian Kirk again is honestly a good name for this question. But yeah, that's it. That's all the questions I had. I like to keep these to 20 to 25 minutes. If you like the video, make sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notifications bell. Share it with your friends on Twitter and all that. And yeah, I'll be back on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern with the Ask Tyler show. And then on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, I'll be back with another set of rookie Dynasty mocks. And then, of course, if you're interested in asking questions and putting them on the show, you can always sign up for my Patreon. The link is in the description at the bottom of the show, both on podcast and on YouTube. And if you want it, it's verbally, it's patreon.com/fantasyadvice. But until next time, I will see you all later.